Why do you feel so responsible for a grown man and one that treats you badly at that? I know how it is, right? You feel responsible for his moods. You feel responsible for his feelings, his appointments, just everything. If he's having a bad day, you feel this need to swoop in and fix it. Anything that's going wrong in his life, you have to manage. So many women feel like he's just not going to be okay if you leave him. And there's a whole reason for that I want to share with you. When his whole life feels like it sits on your shoulders, men like this are so hard to leave. My name is Lisa Sonni. I'm a certified relationship coach. I specialize in toxic and abusive relationships. And on this channel, I expose what abusive men are doing to keep you trapped. So hit subscribe if this is going to help you. I'm going to tell you exactly what he's doing and why he's doing it. But first, we just need to take a quick step back here because so many women are actually being conditioned before they ever get into a relationship like this. Go back and sort of look at your family of origin. So many women have been raised to feel like they need to perform for love. Women are just socialized to be forgiving and be caretakers and help and defer and be different to accommodate everyone else around you. You get praised for fixing. You get praised for apologizing, for changing yourself. And all of this leads you to feel so guilty anytime you say no. So many women feel like they can't say no to a project at work, can't say no to their spouse. They need to do, they need to give, they need to perform. If you have learned that love is responsibility, this is a problem for you. So many women grow up in this framework and then they end up in a really toxic or straight up abusive relationship. A woman who feels like she is secondary, that she has to earn love, she makes an amazing victim of abuse. You're already playing this role in so many other areas of your life, especially if you're playing it in your family of origin, then you're playing it at work, in friendships, and it gives you the perfect framework to end up in an abusive relationship. Now, when you're actually in the relationship, a lot of abusive men really love the idea of you doing more. They make you responsible for them. And they can use this kind of vibe of like, I love when you take care of me. In fact, that book that I despise, which is The 5 Love Languages, and I have other videos on why I hate that book. But this particular piece is acts of service, right? I just love when you caretake. I love when you do the dishes. I love when you fold my laundry. It makes me feel so cared for when you make my appointments for me. And a man like this, he might be overtly saying those things. He might talk about the acts of service from the book. He might just constantly reward you and give you positive reinforcement all the times that you're doing all of these amazing acts of service for him. And listen, if this is reciprocated, that's not abuse. We're talking about the men who are just like, give to me, do for me, perform for me, and you don't get anything back. His moods can often become your job, right? He comes home in a bad mood and he takes it out on everybody unless you kind of tap dance and make sure, oh, I'll make your favorite dinner for you. What can I do? Let me get your slippers, and sort of fawning all over him because his mood makes everybody so uncomfortable that you want to make it better, but you're doing that for him. But ultimately, it's an awful feeling to sit with. And if you have kids even, it affects everyone. So a man like this, right? He's angry, it's your problem. He's sad, it's your problem. He just creates chaos, also your problem. You're constantly having to manage. Now, what this does is it makes you kind of, oh, let me feel, is he angry? Is he sad? You're scanning him. You're looking at his eyes. You're looking at his body language. The second he walks in the door, the second he wakes up, you're like trying to manage everything and make sure that you feel safe. But what this does is it slowly conditions you over time to fix him. It also removes his own opportunity to fix himself. And as an aside, no man, no person could ever learn how to take care of themselves when someone else is doing it for them. But the difference here is not just some random codependent behavior. This is how women are conditioned in an abusive relationship to manage his moods. He wants it this way. This is, in fact, is a perfect way for an abusive man to never take accountability. Because if he's angry, it's your fault. If he stays angry too long, it's because you didn't do enough to bring him back. You could have just been kind, could have just made his favorite dinner. But at the end of the day, all of this just puts it back on you. There's a real trap with these men, right? And this is such a perfect trap for them. I call this the he needs me trap. Men will act incredibly helpless. And I always find it so fascinating because typically it's the leader, provider, alpha man who is simultaneously wildly helpless and just needs you to do everything. Think strategic forgetfulness, weaponized incompetence. He's just confused. He's just incapable. I don't know how to do laundry. He'll do the dishes wrong so that you do them. You take back things from him. You can't trust him with anything. He will make the doctor's appointment for the kids, but only if you give him the phone number, tell him what time you want it at, and remind him where it is. This is a guy who can run a business, handle his job, is successful in other areas of his life, can manage his whole fantasy football league, but he can't figure out basic things at home because he wants you to do them. You have to see that he benefits from this, I don't understand, garbage that he's feeding you. It's truly such a king man baby performance, right? You want to be the king, but you're also a friggin' toddler in your own home. One thing that I think is so important is that when women see men as helpless, or at least you see your man as helpless, it seems like he can't be harmful. But a man like this can be using helplessness to control you, because if he's helpless, you'll step in. And we're shifting away from this idea of codependent. Victims are so codependent. I much prefer what Terry Cole calls high-functioning codependent. So what that would look like here is you know how to solve these problems. You know how to do these things. So you swoop in and you say, I'll create the system. I'll create the chore chart. I'll create the family's shared calendar. I'll make your appointments for you. I'll set your alarms. I'll remind you. I'll cook. I'll clean. I'll make the grocery lists. I'll do it all, because he's failing. But he's not failing to you, right? He's just helpless. He wants to learn. He just doesn't know how. He plays dumb, but it makes you overfunction. And because you know how, you sort of automatically step into that role, but you resent him for it. You might even hate him a little bit. He's really just creating emotional dependency through your labor. I remember once having a conversation with my abuser's mother. I was sitting right beside her, and her husband called her and he said, hey, I'm on a business trip. I just need you to help me choose what I'm going to eat at this restaurant. So they get off the phone. He texts her a bunch of pictures of the menu, and then she reads through it. She decides. She calls him back, and they spend 5 minutes on the phone talking about what he's going to eat. And I remember her being like, this is just how he is, right? He's totally helpless without me. He can't even pick what he wants to eat in a restaurant. And what's so interesting is that she felt loved. She felt needed. She felt connected to him, because even when he's away, he needs her and he loves her and he trusts her. And I know it looks a little pathetic, right? Like, what kind of man can't just decide what he wants to eat? But this man is not pathetic, because actually he runs a multi-million-dollar business. Actually, he makes tons of decisions. He is the patriarch of his family and everyone defers to him, but he doesn't know if he wants steak or chicken. What he teaches her is that he cannot function without her. How could she leave him if he doesn't know where the dry cleaners is? If he doesn't know what he wants to eat? If he doesn't know what to wear? If he doesn't know what tie goes with what suit? How could she possibly leave such a helpless, defenseless man who's abusing her? This is just control through dependence. So don't ever think that the helpless man who's so dependent on you doesn't know exactly what he's doing and isn't benefiting from every single way that he is twisting you into his mother, his maid, his servant. We see helplessness as weakness, even as vulnerability, but sometimes it's a strategy. If you believe that he can't survive without you, you are emotionally attached. And hey, good luck becoming unattached to a man like this. It would kind of require you to not care what he can figure out for himself or not. So when these king man babies are acting like babies, you nurture them, you mother them. And then, of course, they want to sleep with you. And who the hell wants to do that? One of the biggest shifts that you'll ever make for yourself is to not see a man like this as helpless and vulnerable, but to see this as a strategy that benefits him. He gets the exact outcome that he wants, which is you do everything and he does very little. Now, the impact on you is obviously you feel guilty leaving. You feel like you are abandoning a toddler in the snow at midnight on the side of the road if you leave your husband. But what you're doing is actually confusing responsibility with love. You do absolutely feel responsible for him because he's conditioned you to feel that way. But now you feel this caretaking vibe, which mimics love. And I'll tell you, one of the most insidious parts of this whole thing is that your nervous system starts to link this to your worth. You give, you do, you perform, and you feel like he needs you. And then you feel worthy because you are performing and doing, and it's just a vicious cycle. Where does your worth exist outside of that? Do you have worth when you're not giving and doing? Not to a man like this, you don't. So you stay, because if you leave, he's going to fall apart. And in fact, a lot of women try to sort of step back and let him do some things, and then those things fall apart. And then you feel like, oh, now I do need to step in. See, he needs me. And if you identify with being needed, if you feel like when someone needs you, that's love, this all gets conflated as a healthy relationship or a relationship with some problems, but not abusive. This is an abusive dynamic. And so many people are afraid to use that word. I hear sometimes, abuse, that word just gets thrown around. Yes, it gets labeled when things are abusive. Calling it abuse, that makes sense. And the question is always, can a man like this change? I don't know. You tell me. How many times have you asked him to step up for himself? How many times have you stepped back and let him take a whole task and he just does nothing with it or fails on purpose? I know that this is wildly oversimplified. Listen, the truth is abuse and toxic relationships, there's nuance, there's context, there's gray areas. But hear me out on this very simple thing. If you say, this bothers me when you do this, or this hurts me when you do this, and he says anything other than, oh no, what can I do to change it? What else do you need to hear? It doesn't even matter. Toxic, abusive, high conflict, attachment theory, all the things that we try to assign as the reason to his behavior instead of just accepting the fact this is still happening. The reasons are his problem. The impact is your problem. What is this costing you to stay in a relationship like this? Do you have time for yourself? Do you feel like a whole person? Is your worth, your identity completely wrapped up in caring for your husband, in doing for your man? Grown men are responsible for themselves as grown women are responsible for themselves. So as a grown woman, take responsibility for yourself and not for another adult living in the same house as you. Try saying something like, I have faith that you'll figure that out. I trust that you know what decision needs to get made. I know you'll get this. Try giving him faith instead of pity. After all, he's a leader, isn't he? If your whole identity has just fallen apart in a relationship like this, I want you to look at my group coaching program called Rise and Rebuild. It's a 12-week program, 8 to 10 women only, and we teach how to find self-love, how to rediscover that you have worth outside of this relationship, how to rebuild your identity, know your values, stand on what you actually believe in, and be in healthy relationships again. Learn how to separate compassion, and you can have compassion. Learn how to separate that from obligation. It doesn't always mean that you have to swoop in and do something. Free yourself of all of this guilt and all of this responsibility. Hit subscribe, and thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.